Grace and peace to you, beloved. Amy Wilson Feltz here. I am the pastor of St. Paul's United Methodist Church in El Paso, Texas. Thank you so much for joining me for coffee with Pastor Amy on this Wednesday morning. I look forward to this time every week. It is refreshing for my soul. I hope that it's helpful for you as well. Yesterday, I came home from work after spending some time in the office, and I followed my typical routine in coming home. I said hello to Jason as he was working on some things around the house. I checked on the baby who was taking a little nap, and then I went into Augie's room where I found the kids playing together, which was a lovely sight. They were putting items in suitcases. So I asked them, "What's this game? What's going on?" They said, "We are pretending to move to Las Cruces." And they were putting toys and books and favorite treasures and clothing items into their suitcases, and they were smiling and they were laughing. As many of you know, our family legitimately is preparing for a move to Las Cruces in a couple of months. I will be appointed to serve at Morning Star Church there as their pastor. And we've obviously told the kids about this, and they have been asking so many different questions, mostly about things that we are taking with us. We're going to take our beds, right? We're going to take our clothes, right? We're going to take our favorite toys, right? We're going to take that swing in the backyard, right, Mom? It's been a fascinating process. They were just 3 and 4 when we moved here to El Paso, and now they are 5 and 6, working on 6 and 7, and so they have many more questions, and they're observing as Jason and I are sorting items throughout the house. We're beginning to pack as well. And I just find the processing that the kids are doing to be so endearing. In my mind, I see them trying to create a path for themselves. They're creating stepping stones from our life here in El Paso to our life in Las Cruces. And I've been thinking a lot about how they're processing the transition, because life is a series of transitions. I don't know what's going on with you exactly right now, but I would guess that you are encountering and experiencing some sort of transition or another. If you are moving like our family, that's one for sure. If you're preparing to say goodbye to a pastor or welcome a new pastor, that's another one. Perhaps you are experiencing a change in employment or welcoming a new member of the family. We have dear friends who just welcomed a baby boy into the world. That's a huge life transition. Perhaps you are saying goodbye to a loved one through death. We at St. Paul's are preparing for a memorial service next week of a beloved saint in the church. Life is full of transitions, and they can make us feel uncomfortable, unsteady. And something that we can do in the midst of that is really think about who we are, who we were created to be, and those things that will be the same as we transition, while we're also preparing for the things that will be different. And we see examples of this in our holy text, in our Bible. Throughout the Old and New Testament, passages that recount the faithfulness of God by telling about the mighty works of God, God's act in creation, God's act of compassion for Adam and Eve, God's work of deliverance in Exodus, taking the people out of a terrible situation of slavery in Egypt and giving them a promised land through their journey in the wilderness. Certainly God's work of faithfulness in the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus. So many of the writers of our holy text remind the people who are listening to the stories and those of us who are reading them now about God's faithfulness, God's track record, and that remembering, that corporate act of remembering, is to remind us of who God is, but it's also to invite us to remember who we are. as the children of God. And in times of transition, that's really important to remember who we are and to connect our past and our current situation to the future where God is leading us. So I hope that you find that helpful wherever you find yourself in transition in this life right now. It certainly is helpful for me and my family. We're praying that it's helpful for Pastor Bobby and his family as they prepare to come here to serve at St. Paul's. And if you have any questions about the transition, about the church right now specifically, or any transition in your life, I would be happy to speak with you and pray with you. I'll share my email address here so that you can send those questions and topics of conversation. But in the meantime, just know that the discomfort that we feel in times of transition is absolutely understandable, and it's also an invitation for us to locate ourselves in the grand narrative of God's work in our lives and in the world. I hope that you're having a great week, transitions and all, and I look forward to being here with you again next week for Coffee with Pastor Amy. Grace and peace.